Welcome to Boards, Beer, and BS, the SnowMe.com podcast where snowboard pros, coaches, and local riders hang out, have a drink, and talk snowboarding. My name is Jedidiah Tan, snowboard coach and founder of SnowMe.com. If you like hanging out with other snowboarders and talking about snowboarding, this is the podcast for you. So sit back and enjoy the podcast. All right, hey guys, we're back, and it's been a while, but today we're back with the SnowMe podcast, and today we are covering how snowboarding makes you a better person and changes your life. So I'm not just talking about, you snowboard and that makes you happy or whatever. No, we're talking about how snowboarding will actually change your mentality, change how you approach different things in life, and change you as a person for the better. I'm going to talk about why that happens, how that happens, and when that happens, basically. So let's get into it. All right, so as always, this podcast is brought to you by the SnowMe.com Snowboard Trick Secrets tutorial series. So that's a step-by-step video tutorials in snowboard tricks, and these are pretty much the most detailed snowboard trick tips you will find anywhere on the planet. So no one else covers tricks in as much depth as we do at SnowMe.com. So if you want to check out what I'm talking about, go get started with the 4 free snowboard trick tip tutorials at SnowMe.com. So that's SNOME.com/snowboard trick secrets, and you can check it out, get started on the 4 free videos that I give for you guys, and you can see it really is the most detailed snowboard tutorials you will find anywhere on the planet. I cover a lot of things that no other trick tip tutorial covers anywhere, so you can check them out for free and get started there. Okay, hey guys, so I'm back with the SnowMe podcast. It's been a while, right? And first I'll give you guys a quick update, I guess, on what's been going on and where I am at. So I am in South Korea right now, so still basically figuring out this whole immigration thing. Ideally at some time in the future, I'd like to end up back in Whistler, get a house there, and basically spend 6 months a year snowboarding over there. But it's still the same hassles with immigration, and because I'm getting married and all this other stuff, it's super complicated trying to get my immigration sorted so that I can go and live in Canada but still get my permanent residence without having to leave my fiance for 1 to 2 years and not seeing her, basically because I can't leave Canada while I'm trying to handle all this immigration stuff. So it's basically a big headache that I've kind of put aside for now, because there's no real good ways to do Canadian immigration. I'm sure any of you listeners at home will know who's had to deal with visas and immigration issues. That stuff sucks. So yeah, basically that's where that's at. But I've just left it because every time I look at immigration, it gives me a headache. I can't even move my entire SnowMe company over to Canada, and let's say I make $100,000 a year and pay taxes on that. They won't even, let me qualify for residency that way, because, I'd be employed by my own company, and that doesn't count under immigration requirements. And I don't know, it's complicated and annoying. I won't bore you guys with the details, but basically that's where I'm at. So I'm basically in South Korea, Seoul, for the time being, basically just traveling around and doing my thing. But in the meantime, I thought, you know what, I still love snowboarding and I still do it from time to time. So yeah, there hasn't been so much going on the front end of SnowMe.com. I've basically just been focusing on the back end, the people that send me snowboard questions on my VIP group and with my other businesses as well. But I still love snowboarding at the end of the day. So I thought, you know what, let's look at the most popular content on SnowMe. So besides a few blogs here and there, which are really, really popular, the most requested, the most asked for thing on SnowMe to continue, the one that people send me emails on a regular basis saying, hey man, why aren't you doing this anymore, is the podcast. And it's interesting because the podcast is something I just do for fun. I started this out pretty much just for fun because I like to talk about certain things about snowboarding, but for some reason, I guess there's not many alternatives out there, and there's not really many people talking in depth about things beyond just showing clips of people snowboarding, that there's this weird niche where people want someone who's going to talk in depth about different snowboard topics. So here we are. So I thought, you know what, I'll probably do one of these podcasts every, let's say, week or two-ish, try to keep it regular, and yeah, it'll just be my outlet to talk snowboarding on a regular basis with you guys. So I'm back on SnowMe, back making content, and yeah, that's what I basically want to do. Now in the future, I do want to do a full overhaul on SnowMe.com. There's a whole bunch of things I really want to do with trick tip tutorials, redoing a lot of things, not just on trick tips, but in all the blogs that I've posted on SnowMe. So if you look on SnowMe.com at the blogs, there's what, 300, 400, 500 blogs on the website, and that's a lot of content. But I really like to overhaul a lot of it, redo a lot of it in a better way, video format. There's so many things I can do with that, but I really have to be in a ski resort in Whistler doing that hands-on to get it to the quality that I want. So the problem and the reason why I can't just get employees in Whistler to do the recording, the tricks for me, and then I'll do the final editing and everything, is that while I can do that to some degree, the pros and the other people doing the recording don't always understand exactly what the trick or what the tutorial I'm trying to teach is showing, right? So for example, with, let's say, a backside 180 standard snowboard trick, I can ask them to record it. They can make that footage, they can send it to me, and I'll look at, say, 3 attempts of a backside 180 from them, and all 3 attempts will have different techniques built in that I'm not trying to teach, right? Because they're pros, they don't factor in that, hey, this is going to this type of person who's trying to learn a specific type of 180. So when they record themselves doing a 180, they've probably got 20 different ways they can do a backside 180. And every time they do a 180, it's going to be different depending on their personal preference, depending on how they like to do 180s, depending on the terrain. And when you're teaching someone how to do something, you can't teach them 20 different ways all at the same time. You kind of have to teach them, this is the simplest way, this is the standard way to do it. Then you can advance to this is another way to do it. So there's a step-by-step process that I always like to teach that doesn't translate over to how other people like to teach. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why SnowMe is popular, right? It's because if you look at my trick tip tutorials, they are incredibly detailed. They're very step by step. There's a very, logical basis to how I'm teaching you to progress your snowboarding. But when other people teach it, it doesn't come across, right? So while I can get other people to do the tutorials I want, I can't do it too much because it loses a bit of that value that I'm trying to get across in the trick tips. And so that's why that stuff's on the back burner for now. So I'm just gonna focus on the podcasts for now. But I'll try and make these regular, one every 1 to 2 weeks, and that's what we're gonna be doing. So anyway, let's get into the topic for today, which is how snowboarding makes you a better person, how snowboarding changes your life. And so the reason I think, the reason I know that snowboarding makes you a better person and can change your life is not because I think that, hey, this guy snowboards, so his IQ is going to go up 20 points and then he's going to become a genius and then he's going to do so many amazing things. And no, it does not work like that. That is not what I mean when I say snowboarding makes you a better person and changes your life, right? Being a snowboarder isn't going to instantly make you a genius. It isn't going to instantly improve you in all factors of life. But there are specific areas that I do believe snowboarding makes you a better person and snowboarding can change your life. So one is fear factor. Okay, so much of snowboarding is about how you face your fear, how facing your fear every single day will change you as a person. Because what is fear at the end of the day? Fear is your limits. Fear is what stops you from becoming the person you want to be in a lot of cases. And as a snowboarder, what you're doing every single day is you're facing your fear. And look, there are days when you're just cruising around, right? You're just cruising around, you're just snowboarding. But there's a lot of days as well as a snowboarder where you're trying to learn a new trick. You're trying to conquer a new challenge. You're trying to conquer that run you've never done before. You're trying to drop into this new cliff. You're trying to learn how to do that 180. You're trying to hit that new box, try this new jump. There's so many things where every little day in snowboarding, you're trying to conquer some fear. And by doing that every single day, it really changes you as a person. Because let's say the average person working a 9-to-5 job who, they stay in on weekends, they don't snowboard. A lot of these people, they don't get that fear factor that pushes them every day to conquer this new fear in front of them. Okay, a lot of people don't get that, and snowboarding is one of the ways that you can get that fear factor where every day you conquer something, every day you face a challenge and you learn to beat it. Okay, some days you lose, some days the fear beats you, but you learn that every day you're going to go face that challenge, you're going to go face that fear, and that changes you as a person. I don't think there's anyone that's going to say that, hey, you face fear every single day and that will not change you at all, right? It's an interesting thing. I noticed that it really does change you at the end of the day. The people that can face fears, the pro snowboarders I know, my friends, and all of these people, their mindset has completely changed. So the second point is that conquering fear on a daily basis changes your mindset. It basically changes you to start believing that most things are possible due to the results that you get, right? You start learning that, hey, you know what? Fear isn't something that is going to control you. If you can beat that fear, you can learn how to control it. And that's the mindset change that results as a result of facing that fear every single day, is your mindset changes because you see what happens when you can beat that fear. You see like, oh, I was so scared of that 180. I was so scared of that jump. I was so scared of that ski run. And once you beat that fear and conquer it, you start thinking, okay, so that was doable, and that's the result I got. That starts applying to all other areas of your life. Okay, so it's crazy, but once you start getting more confidence in yourself, it breeds more confidence, and people sometimes ask me, hey, how do you get the confidence to do this? How do you get the confidence to do that? And at the end of the day, you don't start as having all that confidence. Right? You don't start being confident in your daily life, in business, in all those other things. But for me personally, it started with snowboarding. It started with like taking that crazy journey at 18 years old to move halfway across the world to try to become a pro snowboarder, and then succeeding, and then, doing other things after that. It changes you as a person. The fact that you went against that fear and you did that every single day, and then you wake up one day and you start realizing, you really can change your life. You really can apply this to so many other things, because you don't have to be scared of the consequences of fear. In most cases, fear is your worst case scenario, and then you start realizing that the worst case scenario only happens a very small percentage of the time. Okay, I mean, how often do we, a lot of people are scared of public speaking, and they're scared that, oh man, I'm going to be embarrassed. People are going to laugh at me if I mess up, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, a lot of those things don't happen. The worst case scenario rarely ever happens. And even when it does happen, it's never as bad as you imagine it in your head. Okay, so that mindset shift is amazing because it changes the way you think about things. You start thinking that more things are doable. I would have never started SnowMe. I would have never started consulting businesses, which is what I'm doing now, and all this other stuff, if I never got that confidence from that mindset change, just from facing fear every day and realizing that fear isn't something that is going to control you. You can beat it. Now, another point that I really believe in how snowboarding makes you a better person and changes your life is that it raises your comfort level when attempting new things. So let's say the average guy, go back to our example, the average guy working 9 to 5, doesn't really do much, stays on the weekends. His comfort level with attempting new things is very, very low. Okay, so let's say, here's a good example. In New Zealand one season, we went skydiving. Right? Now, for the average person, skydiving is this crazy adrenaline rush. It's this crazy thing. They're scared. They're pumped, and it's just this massive challenge for them, right? But the interesting thing that day is that I went skydiving with a bunch of up and coming pro skiers and snowboarders, and just earlier that day, we'd been doing, jumps, going really, really fast, going off 50, 60-foot jumps, doing inverted tricks. So when it came time to go skydiving, it wasn't really something outside of our comfort zone. I literally remember the conversation where we were landed and we were talking to each other saying, oh man, that was awesome. That was really fun. But then we were thinking, that really wasn't the rush I was expecting, because it was almost not even outside of a challenge, because for us it just felt like, oh, yeah, skydiving, that was cool, but it's not something that makes us uncomfortable anymore. And it's a really nice feeling when you're comfortable with so many different things, because it doesn't compare to the challenges that you've beaten before. So what I mean by this is, look, if you conquer a 70-foot jump, so one of the biggest landmarks in my history as a snowboarder was when I look back and I think, I really remember that time when I hit my first 75-foot jump. They call it Kong, as in King Kong in Whistler. They call it jump Kong, and it's the biggest jump in Whistler. It's this huge, massive jump. If you ride up to it, you look down, it looks like you're staring off the face of a building, and there's a massive drop in front of you, and there's this huge gap before the landing. So the first time I conquered that, it raised the comfort level. It raised what I was comfortable doing, because then I look back at the other things, like I go back to, let's say, a 5-foot jump, a 10-foot jump, and look back and think, yeah, that's really not scary anymore. That's like a stroll in the park now. That doesn't even count. So look, this can be a bad thing too. It can raise your comfort level so high that you start doing dumb things. But it can also be a very, very good thing, because too many people are comfortable inside this really small range of things they can do, and that limits what they can accomplish in life, because they're not comfortable attempting new things. And so many things in life that you get that are worth getting are coming from things that are uncomfortable, things that you don't really, you're not going to wake up and think, oh yeah, that's a super easy thing, right? No. Things in life that are worth getting, you got to fight for it. And if you're not comfortable with doing it, it makes it so much harder to do it. And that's one aspect for me anyway, that snowboarding has raised that comfort level and made things possible. So all of this leads into my next point, which is risk analysis. Okay, snowboarders are some of the best risk analysis people that I know, because they do this on a daily basis. It starts changing how you view things, because you start looking at everything as a cost versus benefit. What is this going to cost me? What is the risk of doing this versus what can I get out of it? So snowboarders aren't crazy adrenaline junkies. We don't do, I don't hit a 75-foot jump because I want the adrenaline rush. No, I hit it because I want to conquer that obstacle, but I want to do it in the safest way possible. So I start analyzing the risk. I start looking, hey, okay, have I done the preparation? Do I know the speed for this jump? What are the factors in play here? Are there other things I can do to lower my risk in this situation? And then when that risk hits the acceptable level, then you can pull the trigger and go for it. But until you properly analyze it, you don't know. And I think that's probably the biggest misconception that people have of pro snowboarders, of pro athletes, and is that they all watch like Nitro Circus. They all watch the crazy guys that are just like, they look fearless. And in some cases, maybe they are even fearless. They're crazy. But the vast majority of people aren't like that. They analyze it. Most pro athletes are very, very mentally savvy. Analyze the risk. They know when it's a good risk, when it's a bad risk, and they're just able, using that risk analysis, that they can know that, hey, okay, I've analyzed this properly. I know this is a risk I'm going to take. This is a risk I'm not going to take. And if it hits your green zone where you're saying, okay, this is a risk worth taking, I've properly prepared, this is the safest I can do it, then they go and they're able to just clear the mind and execute. And that's something that a lot of people can't do. So many people can't do it when it comes to the executing. All of this fear factor, all this conquering fear. If outside of snowboarding, you want to know how this affects you outside of snowboarding, well, we can look at my business clients. So I coach a lot of people in business, and my going rate right now is roughly about $1,000 for a set of tutorials and coaching, a set period of tutorials and coaching. And let's say I get 10 clients, okay? So that's 10 people. They all paid $1,000 each. 9 out of 10 of those people are going to just give up before they even try properly. And that's a really annoying statistic, but you can ask anyone in any coaching field, in any training field. That's just how it goes. People give up. They're scared to even try. And then they just fail because they didn't even try. So the way it goes for me, outside of snowboarding is I'll get so many people asking me, how to do a specific thing in business, how to do this, how to do that. So I'll tell them, okay, look, this is what you're trying to do. This is what you have to do. This is the content you have to create. This is how you need to market it. And then I'll check back in on them later and say, hey man, how's it going? Has that been going okay? And you know what? 9 out of 10 of them, they're like, oh, no, I was busy, so I couldn't do it. Or, oh, no, I thought that wouldn't really work, so I didn't bother doing it. And it's like, okay, maybe your idea might have failed a little bit. Maybe it might have been a total failure, but that's a worst case scenario, and you didn't even try, right? You didn't even try to get your business up and running. You didn't even try to implement anything that I was saying. So you're basically doomed to failure because you didn't even try, right? And that's what happens when people let their fear conquer them, and they're too scared to try something new and fail. And at the end of the day, failing isn't bad. Snowboarders fail on a daily basis, but you're taught to get back up, see why you failed, and then analyze what you can do to improve, and then come back and beat that the second time or the third time or the fourth time. And that applies to everything else in life. No one rarely succeeds. I know there's lottery winners out there that win the lottery, and they're that 1 in 50 million chance. But for everyone else, we have to grind. And a lot of people just don't get it. But I find that at least snowboarders get it. When I explain it in that context and say, look, you got to grind, you got to do this. Even if you fail the first time, you learn so much from that one attempt, from that one thing, that you will become better from it. You will be able to improve and do a better job the second time, the third time. So not just in snowboarding, but in business, in life, a lot of your results will come from the later attempts. It's almost like you're expected to fail at first. No one lands a 180 on their first attempt. Okay? There's so much things you have to improve, so many things you have to learn before you get there, but you still have to try. Just trying is a big thing. And honestly, if all of this can be summed down into one thing, is I think snowboarding teaches people to try, to at least get out there and attempt it. Because once they can attempt it, then they can do all the other things. They can change their mindset, they can raise their comfort level, they can learn how to analyze risks better and improve themselves. But it's just being willing to try, right? And it's one factor that I found more common around snowboarders is that they're more willing to try new things. They're more willing to get themselves out there and just at least give it a go, which is far and ahead in front of so many other people who just get stuck into this routine that they never really try anything new, never really break out of the shell. And it's a pity. So I guess at the end of the day, try. Okay, that's how snowboarding makes you a better person. Just try things. Try new things, please. That's all you have to do. I guarantee you, keep trying and things will happen. Try, then figure out why you may have failed, then try again and again until you get it right. And this applies to everything, not just snowboarding, but your life, your business, and so many things. You'll get what you want if you just try. Okay? So, yeah, let's end it today on that. I think this has been a pretty good podcast. I think I'm just going to stick to these types of podcasts from now on, where I just cover one thing in depth and just talk about it, because that seems to be what people enjoy. Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you guys in the next podcast in a week or so. So as always, this podcast has been brought to you by SnowMe.com Snowboard Trick Secrets. If you want to check out our free snowboard tutorials, the most in-depth tutorials on the planet, you can check them out at snomie.com/snowboard trick secrets. All right, take care, and I'll see you guys in the next podcast.